Hello there and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're here to talk more TNA Impact Wrestling nonsense. And hello and welcome to one of the first proper video editions of the podcast. So if you're new here to this new channel, which you probably are because it's new, please subscribe, help us out, help us reach more people and bring you some more great wrestling content here on the channel. Today we're going to be having a look at the No Surrender card. Alrighty, so for those who aren't in the know about where to watch No Surrender and the upcoming PLEs. It's still funny to say PLEs, but we're going to keep saying PLEs just to rub it in the face of other people who are outside of the Impact Wrestling and TNA bubble who try to point and laugh at everything TNA and Impact and whatnot and that sort of thing. Just to say, oh, well, we are partnered with Endeavour and we do have premium live events, don't you know, and things like, things like this and whatnot. But still, it is what it is. But I think I'll be pretty much watching on YouTube Insiders because I've had that for a long time. It's pretty good. I've actually signed up for TNA Plus. And I watched Hard to Kill. Oh, well, I watched the pre-show for Hard to Kill, and some of the explosions early. But now that they're kind of coming on YouTube as well, I don't know whether I'll keep it. I don't know. Maybe if I sign up for the tent poles, then maybe. I don't know. But then I'm paying on YouTube for the specials and on TNA Plus, so I don't know. So I'm still debating it. But anyway, let's check out the card as it is now. There will be more matches added, and we'll do a future episode probably in the next few days about some more of the matches being added. And it's kind of obvious sometimes about matches that are going to be added, and that sort of thing. But sometimes it sort of doesn't happen. We were talking a lot about Bully Ray and Steve Macklin possibly happening at some point. It still hasn't happened. So I don't know, but it's a little bit annoying sometimes, but that it is what it is. I think Bully's just like, well, I'm kind of done. So, though he's been saying, hey, we're going to have a tag team run, but whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to dive too deep into that. We're going to dive into No Surrender for now and see what's happening. So, first off, the TNA World Championship, Alex Shelley and Moose. Now, as I sort of was saying here on the podcast a bit, really thought that they would keep the title on Shelley. He had a very decent run, but I thought that he'd drop it to Alexander, but, because I thought that the whole, just the temptation to do Alexander, Shelley 3 was just going to be such a big thing for them, that it made so much sense to do. But obviously it's like babyface versus kind of babyface, so it doesn't really work out that well. And I think it's like that's the biggest thing. Like I'm thinking for Moose right now in his title legitimacy is that he's already lost to Alexander, and like Alexander's like the top guy in TNA. So it's just one of those things that it's hard to buy that he will be champion if he gets challenged by Alexander. So that's the tough situation. Like, you don't want to blow through having a match with Alexander too quickly, but you want to have it probably fairly quickly so that people are like, well, Moose is still early in his run with the title, so surely they're not going to take the title off him at this point. But historically speaking, 6 months, was the last period of Moose's title run. So, perhaps they'll do it in 6 months, and between now and Rebellion, that's only 4 months or so. I think a couple title reigns there when Eddie held it and Eric Young held it and things like that, and then Rich Swann held it and things like that. Those were a few months apart. But I think that sort of era of TNA needs to sort of move to the back, and they did that for storytelling purposes. But it's a little bit shit, but still it is what it is. So but we keep on moving forward. But still, like Moose right now, there's just no way that he's losing this match, realistically speaking, because again, he's just early into his run, so there's just no real point in having him lose this match. I don't know how this match is really going to work in terms of, like, who's going to throw in the towel effectively for Shelley on his team, because they're all baby faces unless somebody's going to turn heel or something, I don't know. Or unless there's some other shenanigans or something going on there when they do this. So I don't know how you're going to really pull this off. I think it's kind of a bad idea. Maybe if it was just submissions only, but then again, that can kind of get boring. I know some people don't really like submissions only or whatever and that sort of thing. And then you could do that Heroes sort of spot that like Steve Austin did or whatever, where he just passes out. He never submitted, that sort of thing. But yeah, it ended because he couldn't really continue. So I don't know. Maybe that's something that they could try to do. You did the whole, like, you've seen it with, like, Bob Backlund and the Sheik, and you saw it with, like, Owen and Brett. So, like, I think, like, if you can find something like that to, like, some sort of shenanigans to add to why Shelley kind of gets the towel effectively thrown in for him when he sort of, won't quit, even though, he's been beaten up for most of the match or whatever for several good minutes or whatnot, that sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see, certainly in that regard, but just my prediction is Moose because, again, it just doesn't make any sense to flip-flop so much. The title needs to be on people for a decent period of time, and there needs to be a good story reason to change the title. There isn't really like a really good story reason to change the title. Like we talked about, Shelley mentoring Trey Miguel or someone like that to being the champion, but that felt like it was meant to be around the feud with Alexander, so I don't really know how much that feud's going to continue after this, so we'll have to wait and see. But still, like, Shelley's not walking out with the title, I don't think. It just doesn't make any sense. But then again, the new Anthem whole thing could change things, we don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. So I'll talk about the Knockouts title first, I guess, here in the order, rather than the Mustafa X Division match. Giselle Shaw exercising her Ultimate X win to challenge Jordynne Grace. I feel like it's the wrong time for Shaw to really challenge right now. It's still fairly early in Jordynne's run with the title. She's really just sort of won it from Trinity a few months ago. So I don't really see that Jordynne, again, is losing this match because, again, she's only just won it and they don't want to flip-flop titles too much. Like, they have done it in that, but I just don't think it's the right time to quite do it. But then again, like, in that regard, but in another regard, it's like, well, Shaw has been like orbiting that title for like forever, and it feels like she should win it at some goddamn point, and now would be kind of a good time to do it. I feel like Jordynne, I always think that baby faces are boring. That's me. Like, even though I say, like, here and there, like, they shouldn't do these things where, like, I think Josh Alexander's title loss at Bound for Glory, the way he lost it to Moose was really good because there was an innate story there. It wasn't just, oh, we're going to change the title just because. No, we're changing the title because we want another 6 months or whatever of people investing in this character, and whatnot, and then finally make, the title change, really mean something, because now people are really invested in this guy, he was robbed, blah, 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 this and that. When you rob somebody of something like that, you're setting up 6 months to a year or more of storytelling. If you can take the title off Grace in a similar way, have it being robbed from her in some way, and then give 6 months of story, a year of storytelling to somebody to get back to the title, it's always more interesting to me. That the interest is in the hunt, as they sort of say. It's not so much in them holding the title, because like once the babyface is holding the title, there isn't much story to be had. The heels really drive the story, at least in my perspective. A lot of the time, the heel has to be chased down by these, baby faces that, try to get the title. So in that regard, I would like to see Shaw win it, because I think she deserves to win it at some point. And I think now is a good time to kind of do it. Gives, Grace, like, if you do it in the right way, again, a good 6 months maybe, or whatever, of redemption arc or whatever, again, and then go from there. Or somebody else, again, I don't know really, like maybe Xia Brookside, maybe, like, she's pretty new to the division, but you could build around her, or you could build around Danny Luna, or anyone like that's in that division, and then just like, okay, we're going to make this person a star, or we're going to add, Ash by Elegance to this, or whatever, like, so where is it all going? Why is it going there? Like, the female roster, like, if it was all singles, would be pretty darn good. But the tag division, I always feels incredibly weak. So we'll get to that a little bit more, but still, like, if they were to commit, more teams to a tag team division, then it would be a bit better as well. But then again, if they could find something, they would, I guess. But anyway, it's still one of those things. But I just, like, I final prediction, I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know why they kind of put this together at this time. I feel like this should have just been something a bit more throwaway. This should have been like Evans and Grace or something. So, and I know they're having a match on TV, but whatever. I don't know. Actually, like, I want to talk about Evans just for a second, because like in the tag match with Trinity and Grace, she looked amazing. Like, that was like her best performance that I've seen her in her entire time in TNA. Like, she looked really good. She looked really strong and looked competent in that ring. Like, she didn't ever look lost or whatever, and she's often looked lost, or like, oh, I don't know what to do now, or I don't know what to do next, or whatever, or I forgot the spot, or whatever. And it's just kind of like, oh, we're waiting to see, like, oh, she's got to remember the spot, or such and such. She's got to tell her, oh yeah, do this or whatever, like. But this time it felt like she looked really good, and I want to give her some praise for looking so good, because I think if somebody improves and somebody does something right, you should say, hey, good job. And when somebody's not doing so good, you should be going, hey, I think this is how you could improve, or whatever. And I know it's tough, but it's sort of one of those things. You have to take that constructively, not as like, oh, you suck, or what. No, like, and there's no point in saying, oh, you suck, or whatever, that sort of thing. You have to build people up rather than try to tear them down. But anyway, Mustafa Ali and Chris Sabin, I don't love how they've kind of built this together, because like, I feel like Ali should have had matches and should have earned a shot, rather than sort of just he debuts having an X Division title match. Like, if it wasn't for the title, then maybe I'd be a little bit more like receptive, I guess. But just these people that just come in and get a free title match isn't a good look in a lot of ways. But I get that it's a big time match in a lot of ways. But then again, it's just one of those things that you want to establish somebody as being on this level. And I know that he's doing some more shows with TNA, and he might do some more shows. We'll have to wait and see. But, like, for now, like, he's not signed, and he's not sticking around long term. So I just don't see him winning this match. It's funny that almost all the title matches I just won't see the title holders losing their titles in this one. But you know, you never know. But it's still one of those things that you know, like Saban has fairly recently run it. I kind of want to see Leo Rush come back into TNA or Impact or whatever. So that he can, you know, win it again and go on from there, because he was so entertaining and he's so good that I think he would be a great X Division champion or a great person to dethrone Saban. On the X Division side of things, I don't really know that there's that many like amazing people that are in the division that can really take the title off of him. Maybe like if you say Crazy Steve's technically in that division, then maybe, sure, okay, I could see that Crazy Steve could win it, but he's already got a title. Not that he can't win 2 titles, but I think he's already got his own stories that revolve around that title. And whenever you kind of have 2 titles together, it kind of, you know, muddies the water of like who's challenging for what and why and this sort of thing. So just making sure that, you know, it's kind of clear. So that's why you don't tend to have a champion with 2 titles or, you know, whatnot, that sort of thing, because it does muddy the waters a lot. So, but this will be a good match. Like, all of these will be good matches. Like, maybe, like, this might be the match of the night. I don't know. Probably could be. I do want to see more of Mustafa Ali. I kind of want to, like I said, like, if this was, like, just a match with, like, somebody that's in the X Division and, you know, they continued to build this story between Saban and Ali up to Sacrifice is the next PLE, then sure, because then at least he's won matches in the X Division. He's been here for a few months, whatever. He gets a title shot, he loses, he wanders off. Like, I think that would have been better. Like, that's just me. And I do feel like just this hot shotting of ex-WWE guys into the title picture is always a bad thing, mostly. Like, if you do, even if you do it in a month, it's still hot shotting them into that division. Like, really. But at least, you know, like, TNA will use you type thing. Like, it's not like he's not going to be featured for the few weeks or whatever month or whatever that he's going to be here. And, like, Ali, like Matt Cardona, is becoming, like, king of the indies. He's just here, there, and everywhere, and he's doing a bit of everything. I do hope he kind of stays or has a longer term in TNA. But we'll have to wait and see. So, but anyway, we'll move on. Knockouts, tag team titles. Like, DK are winning this. Like I said, like, I just don't see anyone losing their titles in these because there's just no logic in flip-flopping the titles. As I said, the biggest problem with the Knockouts tag division is it's thin as a piece of paper. They need more tag teams. They already have a lot of good single stars, but just mashing them together to make teams isn't a good thing. Like, Marsha and Kelly kind of worked together because there was kind of a good story for them to come together, and they weren't just mashed together for no real reason. They were put together through that story that they had, and they have to continue. Like, I don't know whether they actually have to continue as a team, but they pretty much have to continue as a team because, like, where else are your other tag teams that are in the division? You don't have any, like, or proper tag teams. Like, you can mash some people together, like Jody Threat and Danny Luna and things like that, or whatever, but it's not a real team, so it's just there and kind of exists. So you've got 2 singles people really working together. Yes, I know that's Kelly and Marsha, and even to an extent DK, because when they came together, they were 2 singles people. But they had a very similar vibe and a very similar theme and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. But they really need to add like 3 or 4 more tag teams on this female side to actually fill it out. And I know that this isn't advertised yet, and I know that I don't know the results myself, but internally I know the results because I know wrestling and how wrestling works, and I've been around it for a long time. So I'm 1000% sure ABC have won match 2 in the best of 3 series. So I'm sure that the best of 3 series is going to conclude here at No Surrender. So for the men's tag team titles, though I know it's not here, I know it's probably going to happen. I feel like ABC are going to retain. That's me. I don't see the point in them losing. Like I said, like a lot of these are, it's actually funny. Like I don't know how many it is. It's only like actually 1 really, but it feels like this with this one very much like the Ali Saban match, where it's these ex-WWE guys coming in, getting hot-shotted to the title picture, and then they're like, are they sticking around? We don't know. We don't know that they're signed. We haven't seen that they're signed. We haven't heard that they're signed. So there's just not enough there for me to sort of believe that they'll really win these titles, because they're only going to be here for a short period of time, probably, at the moment, and it's just not the right time because ABC really just won them again. So like there's no point in like really hot-shotting the titles onto these guys. I feel like the system of Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards perhaps should win them. That's me, because I always like to see the faction hold all the gold sort of thing, and that's always a really good story to sort of build out the tag team division, and it would be good again for ABC to be doing that and having to chase the titles again, except now it's against these, veterans effectively of tag team wrestling. They're like some of the most decorated tag team wrestlers that are in the company. I don't know whether Eric Young and Kazarian are going to have a match. I know they're going to have a match, but like when and where and how and like how is it all going to come together? I think Kazarian's having a match with Jake something this week, so maybe they're going to build that up and have it on the show. It also makes me wonder what's going to be on the pre-show. They're kind of building up something between Joe Hendry and AJ Francis. They're obviously building something up between Nick Nemeth and what's his name? Steve Macklin. But when that's going to kind of happen, I'm not, 100% sure. I kind of feel like maybe like they sort of teased this last week or whatever it was, that there'll be probably a tag team match with Mike Bailey and maybe Laredo Kid or something like that. So and maybe Myron Reed will be back. So we'll wait and see on that. So there's a few other matches that we know are potentially in the works. So we'll wait and see for those more matches, or wait for the pre-show to be announced, and certainly we'll do another video when that information comes out. But lastly, for this one, for now at least, it's PCO and Khan. I'm actually kind of interested in this. I feel like if they give the win to Khan, that will be good. It's tough to look at him in the manner of the division currently, because you look at the upper echelon right now of the title holder is a heel. For the world title and for the digital media title are both heels. I don't see him being in the X division, so he'd have to go for one of those titles and build from there and see where we go. But I don't see him winning it until Moose loses it. So that's a good 6 months to a year away. But giving him a win here is a very big building stone. So if they do that, then where are you kind of going with it? I think this is going to change now a bit, but I'm not too sure. with the new Anthem stuff. I think a lot of that sort of new Anthem stuff feels like it could change a lot of things, but we'll wait and see and hope for the best, because they did say back a few years ago, hey, we don't know SFA about wrestling, so we'll leave it in the hands of people who know what they're actually doing. So I hope that they don't middle too much or whatever with the decision-making process of what's going on in the wrestling, and I hope that it's more about, production and that sort of stuff and whatnot. So I'm still peeved with that whole thing, and I want to talk more about it, but a video is upcoming, so do check that out when it comes out. But like PCO, we have to be real. No matter how good he looks, he is coming to the end of his career soon. He's been wrestling for a very long time, and he's done an amazing job, and he's done, a lot for the business. He's done a lot for TNA in the last few years. I know his contract is up probably at the end of the year at some point. I'm not too sure exactly when, but I actually think it might have been a long-term deal now. I don't know. But still, I feel like you need to invest in the future here. It's going to be a tough one. Maybe this match could end in some schmoz. It has no end. And then they build to Sacrifice or maybe even Rebellion with a no DQ style match of some sort. So I could see that. That could be some good potential there. Khan has most been relegated to being a tag team guy, but if you take him seriously in this, in this way and give him a good win against somebody that's very established, it could be really good. But then again, we saw PCO beat Moose, or actually just pin Moose in the Monsters Ball, so I feel like PCO deserves a title shot at some point, so maybe they're actually building to a triple threat. That wouldn't be too bad, I don't think, but, you don't want to see it too much. I'd rather see, I don't know, I wouldn't mind seeing a triple threat, actually, and then maybe you blow off PCO and Khan, and then have, Khan going after the title. Then, he feels like a bit of a babyface to a degree. I don't know. So you've got to make him a badass babyface kind of thing, but it's sort of tough to kind of get that balance right. I think a few guys have kind of got it right and have done it well, and that sort of thing. I think Kevin Nash back in the day, was one of the first people to really kind of get that, I'm a heel, but I'm a babyface or whatever. I'm kind of blurred the lines between what this is or what that is or whatever, and it kind of worked well for him. I think when they turned him or said, no, you've got to be a proper babyface, you've got to be this cheap and cheerful or whatever, blah 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 babyface, that's when he fell off the rails and was more or less relegated to being very much more irrelevant. And that's why his title runs sort of become as bad as what it was, because he wasn't allowed to sort of be this badass babyface that kicked ass and took names like Stone Cold kind of did a few years later. Plus, also, he's just competition. If they had have kept him going against guys like Brett and Sean and maybe Taker and some other people, I know they wanted to save Taker, perhaps for a Mania or whatever and things like that. But still, you could still do things that revolve around some of the more top guys and then building some other top guys. But again, that's the way that I look at it. But if you have Khan beat PCO here, I don't really see that. Rivalries don't just start and then end. This is the first match, they're going to have another match, no matter which way this match kind of goes. So building for the next match is just as important as building for this match. You want to send people home happy, though, in a regard to this match. So you don't want to just have it end in like a DQ or a count out. But I don't know how you can kind of end it without doing that kind of thing. Perhaps if like PCO goes through the stage of or something, or through the ring like he did before, like, and then he comes up through the floor or whatever, and he's still alive, and that whole thing, you know, and then they brawl to the back or something. I don't know. Like, something like that feels like something that they could potentially do and would probably do, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. But that is my thoughts so far on the card. As again, we will wait and see what's announced. As I said, we've got a few matches that we kind of know they're probably going to happen. When they're going to happen, who knows, or whatever. They could be saving it. They could be having a tag match. They could be doing a bunch of things, or they could be just like doing a few other things as well that are kind of like, it's there, we know it's going to happen, like, but they want to build it to a bigger stage. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Hope you will join me again. Please subscribe. Please help us out so that we can bring you more great wrestling content here on the video podcast.